Hello and welcome to the Daily Politics. So, another day.
Thank you.
First of all today, the Culture Secretary, Matt Hancock, has confirmed that the government will not implement the second stage of the Leveson inquiry. Part 2 had been intended to examine unlawful action by media organisations, plus relations between journalists and the police. Speaking in the Commons this morning, Mr Hancock explained the reason for his decision.
Now, during the consultation, 12% of direct respondents were in favour of reopening the Leveson inquiry, with 66% against. We agree, and this is the position that we set out in the Conservative Party manifesto. Sir Brian, who I thank for his service, agrees that the inquiry should not proceed on the current terms of reference, but believes that it should continue in an amended form. We do not believe that reopening this costly and time-consuming public inquiry is the right way forward. Yeah. So, considering all of the factors that are outlined to that House today, I've informed Sir Brian that we are formally closing the inquiry.
Matt Hancock speaking there. Well, Mr Hancock's shadow in Parliament is the Deputy Labour leader, Tom Watson, who has been at the forefront of the campaign to push ahead with Part 2 of the Leveson inquiry. Here's his response in the Commons.
There was more to be gained politically by our political parties from standing up to the tabloid media than bowing down to it. And when every Conservative MP who was then in Parliament backed this policy, including the current Prime Minister and the present Secretary of State, they didn't really mean it. They were waiting for the wind to change, waiting for the fuss to die down, waiting for a time when they could, as quietly as possible, break their promises.
Well, there is another dimension to this story because overnight, Tom Watson, who you just saw there, confirmed that he would no longer be receiving any donations from the privacy campaigner Max Mosley, amid a row over a racist by-election leaflet from 1961 that Mr Mosley is said to have published. We'll explain all that in a moment, but first here is Tom Watson again speaking about Max Mosley in the Commons.
And I think I should take the Mosley issue head-on with your indulgence, Mr Speaker. If I thought for one moment he held those views contained in that leaflet of 57 years ago, I would not have given him the time of day. He is a man, though, who in the face of great family tragedy and overwhelming media intimidation chose to use his limited resources to support the weak against the strong.
Tom Watson there. Well, with me now here in the studio is our political correspondent, Eleanor Garnier. Eleanor, just explain why this is important, this dimension to the story, Max Mosley.
Well, Tom Watson's office has been part funded by the Mosley family. Max Mosley, of course, a privacy campaigner. He's long held clashes, if you like, with some of the British tabloids, and in recent years he's been a campaigner for tougher regulation of them. Labour has now said it's not going to take any more money from the Mosley family over this row of this racist by-election leaflet from the 1960s. Mr Mosley, we should say, has strongly denied any recollection of that leaflet, though he has admitted that if it's genuine, its content is racist. In all, £500,000 has been donated to Mr Watson's office. The last donation was received last year, but now a Labour source has said that funding arrangement has come to an end, and the party has said it's moving away from large-scale donations.
And in terms of the Part 2 of the Leveson inquiry, that was a manifesto commitment to not go ahead with it in the Conservative manifesto.
Yeah, that's right. It's been trailed for some time, but it has been an extremely heated debate over this Leveson inquiry. You'll remember the public outcry over the alleged victims of phone hacking by the now defunct News of the World. I think there will be, or many of the major press newspaper groups are going to be thrilled by this. They'll be extremely happy. But of course, the victims, those who've been campaigning, who thought that when David Cameron pledged to have this second part of Leveson, they thought that would be it and it would happen. They will be extremely disappointed.
And Tom Watson, of course, took the opportunity to accuse the government of burying bad news, bearing in mind the weather.
Yes, he said that the government had capitulated and was failing the victims of press intrusion. So the government has been clear today. They think that there have been changes, that the press is now in a different place to where it was when all this was happening, and the things that were happening that Leveson inquired into. That is what Matt Hancock was saying today. Tom Watson, though, very clear. The victims, he said, had been failed and the government had capitulated.
Eleanor Garnier, thank you.